Hello, fellow archaeology and history enthusiasts. My name is Caitlin, and today we are going to be doing a crash course on the prehistory of art in the Middle East. So to begin, when referencing prehistory, I'm talking about the time before written language. For the Middle East, written language was established between 3500 and 1000 BCE, so all the sites and remains we're going to be talking about today are before that time period. In addition, when referencing to art, I'm going to be talking about the expression or application of human creativity in visual forms such as painting, sculpture, carvings, things like that, that were produced to be appreciated for their beauty or for their emotional power. So to begin, we need to understand what region we're talking about. So this is a reference map of the Middle East and the countries that constitute that region. So feel free to go back and reference that at any point if you get confused. All right, so for our first site, we have the Qasay and the Skol people that inhabited rock shelters and cave dwellings in Israel around 120,000 to 80,000 years ago. These were two different groups of people in this area, and they were the first anatomically modern humans that were able to manipulate their hands and develop fine motor skills that allowed them to create tools. And then they used those tools to create what are called beaded shell necklaces. So basically they would collect seashells from the coastline or as much as 20 miles inland. Then they would decorate them occasionally with red ochre dye, which was present in the area. And then they would create these holes in the shells, put a string through them and wear them as necklaces or other forms of jewelry or accessories. And that is our first example of human expression and creativity, which deems it our first example of art in the Middle East prehistory. Moving on from Israel, we are now going to travel over to modern day southeastern Turkey to Göbekli Tepe. So during the time that Göbekli Tepe was created, about 9,000 to 12,000 years ago, it was located on the northern edge of the Fertile Crescent, and basically it was created by a group of hunter and gatherers who did not live in the area in the structure that was created, but it is believed that it is one of the world's first temples. So they created it for religious or spiritual purposes. And on the pillars of the temple, we see carvings of foxes, lions, scorpions, and vultures. And some believe that it may be because they were worshiping these creatures, or they were confronting them before going out to hunt to gain strength or bravery. But whatever the reason, we see a significant change from the Qasay Skol people to the Göbekli Tepe groups in terms of artistic maturity and showing that art has now taken on a more personal form for the people. Otherwise, they would not have included this in their structure. Now we will move on to Jericho. Jericho was a city in Palestine about 9,000 BC, but became an organized community about 8,000 BCE. And this was the first development of permanent settlements in the Middle East and the early beginnings of the agricultural revolution. So people have more time to focus on other skills like survival. And the unique thing about Jericho from an art perspective is that this is a first example in art history of portraiture. So basically what they would do is they would take the skulls of the deceased, make a plaster reconstruction of their skull, and then they would fill the eye sockets with seashells and place these reconstructions in the homes of the deceased after they were buried. And this shows that art is really beginning to be connected to spirituality and religious beliefs and practices. Moving on from Jericho, we travel to the great city of Ur, which is located in modern day Iraq. But during its time, about 5,000 to 4,100 BCE, it was a port city on the Persian Gulf in southern Mesopotamia. The people who lived here were very comfortable, very wealthy because they were well into the agricultural revolution. They were tradespeople, and so they had more time to develop religious and spiritual beliefs and to develop skills such as art. And we see this a lot in the royal tombs that they had. So on the left, we'll see the Queen's Lyre, and this was found in one of the royal tombs. And a lot of the royal tombs were decorated with sculptures or art pieces similar to this one. as well as seals like this on the tombs, which are much more intricate than the carvings that we saw at Göbekli Tepe. In addition to that, in the royal tomb, we also found the Standard of Ur. And this gave us an idea of why art became very important in Ur. And this is because they used it to tell the stories of the people who lived there and what was going on, and kind of worked as a precursor to developing a written language by using art to depict the images of life first. And lastly, we are in Mohenjo-Daro, about 2600 to 1900 BCE. So in modern day, it is located in Pakistan's northern Sindh province, but in its time, it was the Indus Valley Civilization city. It was the first major city of the world, had a very developed social hierarchy. They were completely sedentary at this point. So they started to begin to look at art as a desirable and luxurious skill and luxurious field to be involved in. Art showed symbols of status, such as the clay figurine of the priest king. The seals around the tombs were more intricate and deliberate. And then the most important find here was the bronze figurine called the Dancing Girl. And this showed us that they had developed the skills to be able to metal bend or bind. And so this really showed us that they were taking deliberate time to work on this craft, to integrate it into their lives, into society. And so really Mohenjo-Daro is basically the point that we're at today, where art is a luxury item. It is integral to everyday life, to society, and to preserving our culture and things that are going on in our lives. Just like we take pictures, they were essentially doing the same with the tools that they had. And with that, that is the end of our crash course. Thank you so much for sticking with me through that. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.